First of all, we're going to explain the female external genitalia, also known as the vulva. At the top, we can see the mons pubis, a sub-area covered by hair that projects internal organs. Below, we find the clitoris, a very sensitive structure that plays an important role in sexual pleasure. Next, we see two pairs of skin folds, the labia majora on the outside and the labia minora on the inside. These folds protect the openings of the utera and vagina. In the center, there are two important openings: the urethral opening, where urine leaves the body, and the vaginal opening, which connects to the internal reproductive organs. All these parts together make up the vulva, the visible part of the female reproductive system. Clitoris and vagina. In this second diagram, we focus on the clitoris and vagina. Here we can see again the clitoris protected by the clitoral hood. Below it, we find the urethral opening and the vaginal opening, both located inside the vaginal vestibule, which is the small space between the labia minora. At the lower part, we can also see the anus, part of the digestive system, but close to the reproductive area. This view helps us to understand how close and connected these structures are. Now let's move to the internal organs, starting with the uterine tubes, also known as the fallopian tubes. Each side has a fallopian tube that connects an ovary to the uterus. The ovaries are glands that produce eggs and hormones like estrogen and progesterone. When an egg is released, it enters the fallopian tube, and if a sperm cell meets it, their fertilization can occur. The fertilized egg then travels to the uterus, where it may implant and grow. This process is a key part of reproduction. Here we have a detailed section of the uterus and vagina. The uterus has three main layers: the endometrium, the inner lining that thickens each month and sheds during menstruation if there is a pregnancy, the myometrium, the thick muscular layer that contracts during labor, and perimetrium, the outer covering. The uterine cavity is where a baby will grow. At the lower part, we see the cervix, which opens into the vagina. The vagina serves as the birth canal and also connects the uterus to the outside of the body. This final diagram shows the internal view of the clitoris and surrounding structures. Here we can see the glands of the clitoris, the corpus cavernous, and the crus of the clitoris. These parts fill with blood during arousal, similar to the male penis. Below, we have the urethral orifice and the external vaginal orifice, or vaginal opening. We also see the bulb of the vestibule, another structure that becomes larger during arousal. Together, these parts make up the internal anatomy of the vulva and play an important role in sexual response and protection. And thus the overview of the female reproductive system, from the external structures that protect and allow sensation to the internal organs that make reproduction possible. Well, now we're going to talk about the male genital anatomy step by step, using clear labeled diagrams. I'll explain the structures, their function, how they relate to each other, and why they matter clinically. So let's begin. We're looking at a cross section of the penis. At the center, you see the urethra, the tube that carries both urine and semen to the outside. Surrounding the urethra in the ventral portion is the corpus supposing a spawning tissue that helps keep the urethra open during erection. On each side are the two corpora cavernosa. There are pirate erectile bodies made of trabecular, smooth muscle, and vascular space. During sexual arousal, arteries dilate and blood fills the space, producing an erection. Outside the erectile issue is the tunica albuginea, a tow fibrous layer that we can also see small blood, vessel, and nerves supplementing the erectile function and sensation. Clinically, trauma, infection, or vascular disease can affect these components and lead to pain, deformity, or erectile dysfunction. Here we have the testicle and scrotum. The testis is the oval gland responsible for sperm reproduction and testosterone secretion. Within the testes are hundreds of seminiferous tubules where spermatogenesis occurs. Sperms mature and travel into the epididymis anticulate tube that lies along to the posterior surface of the testes. The epididymis stores and further matures sperms. The scrotum is the external pouch of skin and muscle that contains the testes. Its primary role is temperature regulation. Sperm production requires a temperature significantly lower than core body temperature. This drawing shows the external appearance of the penis. The shattered penile body is covered by skin and contains the corpora cavernous and corpus sponges internally. At the distal end is the glans penis, the sensitive cone-shaped teeth. The purpose of forkings covers the glands in uniconscious males and can be retracted by the external uretral mute sieves at the tip of the glands and its openings for urine and ejaculate. The penile skin is highly mobile, allowing inspection during erection. The glands are richly innervated, making it the main sensory organ for sexual pleasure. Clinically, conditions like phimosis, bladder, or urethral screens may affect regions and require medical attention.